Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Emily Hiles, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Major Nathan MacDonald. This evening, we're honoured to acknowledge General Zahir Shamzad Mirza, Pakistan Chairman, Joint Chiefs of Staff Committee, accompanied by General Angus Campbell, Chief of the Defence Force Australia. We also welcome Lieutenant General Jody Daniels, Commanding General, United States Army Reserves, accompanied by Brigadier Mike Calms, Director General, Workforce Integration, Australian Army, and the accompanying delegation. We also warmly welcome the delegation from the Defence Academy, Royal Brunei Armed Forces. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors to the memorial and students on behalf of Tulu Arm Primary School from Lake Tyers Beach, Victoria. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where family and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths and floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Private Charles Tilbee. Charles Tilbee was born in 1893 in Mollash in Kent, England. Known as Charlie, he was one of 12 children born to farm manager Frederick Tilbee and his wife Catherine. Charlie received his education at the local public school before moving to Western Australia with his family when he was 18 years old. His father began work as a plasterer, and the family settled in Perth. At the outbreak of the First World War in 1914, Charlie was working as a general labourer in the city. Charlie Tilbee enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force on the 4th of March 1915. He was assigned to the reinforcements of the 12th Battalion and commenced a short period of training in Australia. He embarked for active service from Fremantle on the 26th of April, sailing on board the troop ship Horata. Private Tilbee joined his comrades on the Gallipoli Peninsula in June 1915. Having missed the landing in April, during which his brother Walter went missing, Tilbee spent the weeks that followed undertaking routine duties on the front line. His unit held a defensive position until August, when the 12th Battalion was drawn into the disastrous attack on Lone Pine, which resulted in over 2,000 Australian casualties. In November, Private Tilbee contracted bronchitis and was evacuated to Malta for treatment. During this time, the Gallipoli campaign was abandoned and the remaining troops were evacuated from the peninsula. When Tilbee recovered from his illness in March 1916, he rejoined his comrades in Egypt. Shortly after his return, the 12th Battalion embarked for the Western Front. The men arrived in the French city of Marseille after a week-long voyage and were immediately sent north to the Franco-Belgian border. A few months after reaching the front, Tilbee was drawn in the fighting around the village of Pozières, where he would take part in his second major battle of the war. The 12th Battalion advanced on the 22nd of July 1916, directed to recapture the village. In doing so, the men faced heavy enemy machine gun fire while grappling with lengths of barbed wire as artillery began to hit their position. Private Herbert Harris, who was also caught in the fighting, described the battle. Imagine men dug in a few feet into the ground and shells falling like rain, trenches blown up and men digging for dear life to rebuild them, or rescuing their comrades who were buried. And in most cases, the rescuers were also buried by shells. When entering the trenches, we were bombarded with tear and gas shells, which made us wear our gas masks. It was almost impossible to see and hard to breathe. I have heard the officers and men say that the landing and the Lone Pine battle at Gallipoli were picnic compared to this last fight. Having reached their objective, Tilbee and his comrades dug in. They were occupying the frontline trenches on the 25th of July when the enemy began a counterattack. During the bombardment, Tilbee was hit and killed instantly. Following the attack, Tilbee was buried at Pozières British Cemetery. Today, his headstone displays the simple inscription, "Rest in peace." Charlie Tilbee was 23 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour to my right, among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving during the First World War. His photograph is displayed today by the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Charles Tilbee, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we who are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of our director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support of the Memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening.